It's weird how we can just talk over the countdown now. Totally F with this countdown. We could just F with it and just people be like, what the heck is going on right now with this countdown?
You're ruining the ambience, I'm going to be honest.
I am. I just do-do-do, do-do-do-do.
You're muted, my man. Adam is muted, everybody. Mute.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into the Winner's Lounge.
Let's go.
You don't have any of the stuff ready to go. There it is. You do have one. Nice.
Yeah, I got it.
The Winner's Lounge here, guys. The Nuggets get back-to-back wins for the first time this season. Thank God. They're on a streak, baby. We're going streaking.
We're going streaking. I'll take this off right now.
So I'm joined, of course, I'm Adam Matas. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues over here. It's D-Line Co.
What's up, guys? What a terrible, terrible game. Wow, that was fantastico. Got that down, baby.
Our energy is fantastic for that game because that game is energy is, I don't know. And then, of course, we got him back. Superstar Dev. What up, Dev?
Back. I'm glad that everybody else is excited that I'm back. I'm excited to be back. And I'm here for the rest of the year. I'm ready. No more breaks. I'm ready. We got to win.
And we're here at the Digital Winners Lounge, of course. Sad that we couldn't be at the DNVR bar on the night it opened. Sad.
No.
What a shame, man. What a pity. But we have, we're trying to be responsible here. Contact tracing. D-line.
Shouts to MPJ.
Shouts to MPJ. He was partying with MPJ, and now we all have to kind of make sure we're all safe here. So we're here a little bit later in the show. Harrison Wind is going to be joining us live from Pepsi Center, letting us all know all about what went down, what Michael Malone had to say. Nikola Jokic. I don't know who else. Who else do you think is going to talk today? Who else is getting the podium game today, Dev?
Maybe Facu. He got his opportunity. He got some moments. Maybe he gets a little bit of time.
Yeah, Facu. Maybe he's definitely one of the stories here. Like him being in the rotation now, 2 games in a row. Feel good guy. Dev, I think your mic needs to be boosted. Actually, Kel, can you boost Dev's mic? He's kind of soft to me.
He keeps moving back from his mic.
That is what he's doing. It's actually Dev's fault.
This is like straight rookie ball.
It's a good angle. I get to see you guys from a different angle.
Straight rookie.
So, all right. Well, you guys, we always start. The Nuggets do get the win. So, I'm not going to lie. I did not enjoy that game on a scale of 1 to 10. That game was like a 3.
Yeah.
It was more frustrating because, look, Denver should have won this game by 20 points. And, look, it's the NBA. The teams have pride. We got great performances from Juancho, Jared Vanderbilt. Shouts to the former homies. They balled out. You could tell this game meant something. But, my big question that I want to start with before I go to big takeaway. Actually, no, I'll go to big takeaways first. I'll save this question for later. But, Dev, you're watching this game unfold. What's your number one thing you're going to take away from it?
My number one thing is I'm not going to be as low on the game overall as more as it was a win where Malone got to tweak a few things and got to see a few things with the second unit and how he would try to close games and just a way to close. It was great for them to see that Jokic is going to be their guy down the close and also to get a win without Jamal Murray having one of his huge games. So I think that my big takeaway was that the Nuggets got it done, even though it didn't look the way that we're accustomed to.
Yeah. I mean, last year Denver got a lot of ugly wins against bad teams, but last year they were never below 500. So I think maybe there's part of that that's factoring into this is we want to feel good about this team and we want to be like, oh, yeah, that's right. They are, in fact, good. Like, we all want that moment where we can say, oh, yeah, this team is good. But right now they have wins against the Houston Rockets, terrible team. 2 wins against the Minnesota Timberwolves without Karl-Anthony Towns, terrible team. And the way that it happened tonight, to me, in my opinion, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but in my opinion, it was just a little shaky. Eric, what was your big takeaway?
The big takeaway, was, I mean, Jokic can do whatever he wants. Like, he had a really sloppy first half and then, like, just put the entire Denver Nuggets on his back and willed them to a win. Jamal Murray came out on fire and then just, like, completely took himself out of the game. Like, wasn't even looking for his shot. Like, it was just such a strange game. Like, overall, like, I had no feel for that game at all. Evidence the fact that I absolutely murdered my bet tonight. Just destroyed through and through.
Do you felt like your bets were bad tonight? I had Gary Harris 1.5 threes. I took the over. I took the over like a clown, man.
Paul Millsap was down for to make 1 3. He made 0 threes.
Oh man, they know. They can tell. With Gary Harris, so we had Kelly Oubre go off, and I was like, all right, you know what? Gary's not a great shooter, but he's not this bad.
I felt that same way.
He's due, but he didn't even look at the basket tonight. Jokic was impressive in this one, man. Like, and as he continues to be, actually, I don't know if he was impressive. He was frustratingly impressive. Like, I think Ryan Blackburn put it out from Denver Stiffs, put it out on Twitter, and it was 100% true. This was his worst game of the season. It just so happened to be that his worst game is 35 points. You know, what was the whole stat line? I just moved computers here, so I have to pull it up here. But it was insane, an insane stat line that for most players that would be their best stat line of the entire season. Am I being too harsh on the guy, Dev? I love the guy. People think somebody in the comment section the other day that was saying I'm a Jokic hater or something like this. Think about the absurdity of this.
I'm telling you, man, you have just a special way to make everyone think that you hate the player that they like. It doesn't matter who it is.
True. Jokic, literally my favorite player of all time, and there's not a close second. Like it really isn't anything near. But tonight, you know, I mean, I do judge him on a curve in large part because I think he's the MVP of the season. I think he's one of the best players in the NBA. 35 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 1 blocks. That's a pretty monster stat line. I give him a B+. Okay, maybe an A-. Maybe an A-. What do you think,
it couldn't be further from like the truth. Like everything about Jokic is Adam. Adam is Jokic on the court, and also
Dev's actually played with me.
You're one of the biggest advocates there is for Jokic. So it's kind of ironic and funny for him to say that. But yeah, this was a game that Jokic, although he had a monster stat line, it was not a great game for him. There was a lot of plays that you just like shook your head on, or it was just like you questioned what was actually happening. Then there was a frustration fouls. There was some weird turnovers. There was there was a point in the game that he decided not to try to score. And then it was as if when Vanderbilt went after him, he just kind of like turned it on. And he went through that whole spurt that the refs were like, it seemed like the refs were against him. Like he pulled himself up from the rim and got his technical foul. Then it looked like he got another technical foul. It was a lot going on for him. But then you look up at the scoreboard and you're like, oh, he still looks like the best player in the league. Like that is insane to think about. Like if a person just looks at the stats, if they're watching a different game and they look at the stat book, Jokic had a monster game. This is you would guess it was one of his better games of the year, and it wasn't. He's on a different world. He's playing at a different level, and they went through him to close the game. Jokic, although it wasn't a great game for him, it was an MVP game for him. So that was exciting to see. That has to be the takeaway of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we have the graphic yet ready, but I'm guessing he's going to be king of the game. In fact, I don't even think we voted on this. Well, there we go, king of the game, Nikola. Some games there's no conversation about it. Somebody was in my mentions was like, I think it's Monte, and I'm like, guys, Facu had that great game last game, and we gave it to him, even though Jokic had the triple-double and Murray had the 36. We still gave it because you can be a role player that gets the king of the game, that steals the king of the game from a great player. But Jokic tonight, I mean, even though I'm giving him a B+, not an A-, he still was pretty damn good.
Yeah, that was not really. I mean, like that last game. Yeah, exactly. When we gave it to Facu and everyone was mad at us. Like if we would have given it to anybody but Jokic, I feel like we would have just gotten 1,000 downvotes. Like there's just no way that we could have gotten away with that.
I like this comment here though. This is the biggest takeaway. Jokic can do a pull-up.
I know,
kidding, man. I did not think he could. He had 2 dunks tonight, right? 2 dunks, no triple-doubles, 2 dunks, and 1 pull-up. And as much as it was frustrating that he did the pull-up because it was so clearly going to get him attack, it was kind of nice to see, man. Like, that guy's showing off. He wants everybody to know this is the new-bodied Jokic.
It was also the move that got to the rim for the pull-up. He, went under the defense. I'm sure how a 7-footer goes under the defense. He goes under the defense, then does the dunk, then he pulls himself up and looks around like, yeah, I could do that. I think it even shocked him. And that's what he's been doing on his dunks. He's pulling himself up just to like really prove like this is my new body. I'm ready for it.
The funny thing about Jokic tonight is he gets 35 points and he was 12 of 20 shooting, right? So he goes 60%, which is pretty good. Not, for Jokic's standards, pretty good. He missed 4 or 5 of those 8 misses were layups. Like tonight he could have easily had 43, 44 points because the shots, it wasn't like he was bricking threes or tough shots. So and he's actually kind of missed a lot of those bunnies tonight. But hey, we're not going to complain too much about Jokic tonight. We should probably talk about the fouls though, because I think Jokic gets a tough whistle. I don't think this is too controversial. Like he gets the cuts on his arms all the time, but he does get favorable whistles, in my opinion, off ball. Like he's really crafty at drawing some of the like, oh, I'm cutting across the lane and he grabs me. And of course, in that Lakers series, some of that backfired on him, this or that. But when he's going to the rim, I think he really does get a tough whistle. When he's under and around the basket, he's a finesse player. I got so frustrated with, it was Mike Prada, actually, I think formerly of SB Nation. I don't know where he is anymore. But he had this comment over the weekend where he's like, yeah, on the perimeter, they call fouls differently because a touch bothers the shot. And I'm thinking, no, inside it, but it doesn't matter where you are. If you use a finesse and somebody hits your arm, you miss it affects the shot. And so I get so frustrated, but it's true. When you're a big and you're around the basket, they just let a lot go. And Jokic, I think, tonight he snapped. I didn't think he was going to snap this year. He snapped tonight.
I think also he's just really smart about how he gets his fouls. For the referees, you kind of have to make the foul if he decides to get bumped and then makes a travel. Like if he does a travel on it, he makes sure to like you have to call it. It's like when the guys go up for a rebound or something and then they fall over. You have no choice but to call it because there was clearly contact. He kind of forces you to call it. Now when he's going to the rim and he makes those type of plays, they're not giving him the same whistle, and I think that's where the problem comes. Plus, the playoffs is more physical. So he does have to get around that, and he keeps on having a big year like he's having right now. I mean, he's going to be in the MVP discussion, so it'll start to get better. But yeah, he's still, like you said, he had been so great about not taking the foul when he's frustrated, or just the foul just to stop the foul. I thought he was doing so much better at that, and now he's starting to revert back to those ways. But you can't be upset about it because he's putting up these big numbers. And he also showed that he could come back after that. So maybe it was even like a mental thing. Like he did that. He had to sit down for a little bit, and he's like, okay, now I'm in a rhythm. So maybe there's some comfort with him when he makes those type of calls or fouls.
Yeah, dude. It feels like Jokic has made another enemy ref in the league. Maddox.
I know. Oh, dude, Maddox was at the center of all these bad calls tonight.
Yo, it was like, I mean, it felt like it was getting a little bit personal. Like, it was like starting to get shades of, I don't know, who would you say is the number one Jokic adversary when it comes to refs?
You got Tony Brothers.
It's probably Tony Brothers, right?
Tony Brothers may be number one, but Rodney Mott.
Rodney Mott, right.
Rodney Mott.
Yeah. Dude, Maddox was throwing his hat in the ring there to see if he could be the new Jokic number one adversary. He was like, and it's funny too because it's such a strange reaction when Jokic is frustrated that he doesn't get a call that he then fouls to try to show the ref up somehow. Like the ref is like, yeah, that what you just did was a foul, but it doesn't make me reflect upon what you want me to have called.
Well, no, you're wrong. We remember this. It's a not, right?
Well, he was straight in not mode.
It is the cut off your nose to spite your face thing here, where it's like, yeah, it really hurts me, but it kind of hurts you, so it's worth it. Like totally worth it.
I saw that in the face of Maddox. He was like, "Man, I hate to call this because
I hate to get showed up."
The worst part about it is the innocent player that is bringing the ball up the court that just gets whacked because this guy is upset about it.
I know. He's like, "Why? Yeah, what did I do with this?"
You just get whacked for like, I didn't even foul you. I don't know why you right now.
Yeah, what a weird game, man.
It was a weird game. But I will say, there's a groan across the entire state. If you had your windows open tonight, you could hear it. As soon as Jokic gave that take foul in the back court, it's like, no! Because his fouls, man, I'm telling you, there's like nothing more precious in the NBA than Jokic's fouls. Like, every single foul is so costly. So, him giving those ones, I hope he get better. Tonight he snapped. Hopefully,
so I've never noticed fouls. I've never noticed fouls like I have with Nikola Jokic. Like any other player, like they foul whatever. You're like, oh, how many do they have? Like 3. Like the second the whistle blows, I'm like, that's his third. That's his third foul. He's got 3 or whatever. Like I know the exact count the entire time. I have like a little clicker that I have.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody does. But I mean, the flip side. It's funny that we talked so much about the bad things that he brought because. I'm telling you, I've thought Jokic was incredible as a rookie. I thought he was great as a sophomore. Thought he was great in the playoffs last year. This level that he's at right now, this level of comfort is just so absolutely incredible that so many things could kind of go against him tonight, and he still ends up with that stat line again. I'm going to say it again. He was a plus 13. That's a team high. No shock there. 35 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. Like that's all. I mean, he did it all. He filled up the entire stat sheet. The next player I want to go to. A little surprising here.
Oh.
Next player I want to go to is Will Barton because I thought this was a good bounce
back
game
surprising.
from him. He needed one. He'd had like 4 bad games in a row, I thought. But tonight, he was a guy that really stood out to me. Number one, defensively. He was also a team high plus 13, so he matches Jokic there. He gets 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Like, okay, those are good numbers. The points, especially that stands out to you. But to me, it was he took the defensive assignments, I thought, down the stretch of this game. And even throughout the game, I thought his defense was good. But down the stretch, Denver couldn't get a stop from anybody, man. Nobody could stay in front of the ball tonight. And there were times where he jumped out at Anthony Edwards, jumped out at D'Angelo Russell, and made defensive stops that Denver desperately needed. So to me, Will Barton, he's the prince of the game.
You think so? I would give Prince of the game to JaMychal Green.
JaMychal Green you're right. You're right. There's 2 princes. Jokic had 2 sons.
Wow. 2 princes. Isn't that a famous song?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I don't know. Well, what did you think, Eric, of Barton tonight, though?
I thought Barton stepped up when it was needed. He did a lot of things that I found kind of frustrating. He shot the ball on times that I wanted him to pass. He passed when I wanted him to shoot. But in the end, I mean, if we're talking about how he has been playing versus how he played tonight, this was absolutely a much better game from Barton, and you were able to rely on him in ways that you weren't able to before. I think he loves, he just loves playing along Jokic. That's really what it comes down to. But
what's tough is I kind of like Jokic playing a. This is the There's a little bit of paper rock scissors here because I like Facu next to Jokic. I just like it with those staggered lineups. I don't like Barton next to Facu though. So there's this, and then Barton wants to play with Jokic. So there's this big little how do you make these things work? But I don't know. I just thought his defense. I mean, the story of the night to me was you're watching this game and you're kind of like Denver can score on Minnesota pretty easily once they get it going. They had a little bit of clunkiness trying to solve some of what Minnesota was doing, namely sinking off of shooters and clogging the paint and daring them to make an outside shot, which they could not win that dare. But part of this was just they needed to get 4 or 5 stops, and he provided them. Dev, what did you make of Barton's night?
I'm more on D-line side. There were so many frustrating moments of the game that really stand out. That you're just why did you do that, or why did you not make the extra pass and things like that? But I think that's just a lot of what comes with Barton. I also think that's why you like Barton with Jokic at times, and then also not with Facu, because with Facu he has to be perfect. Well, Barton has to make the right decision, or if it's not perfect, it makes it so difficult. Because
great point.
Because Barton he's a person that he's a live. You just don't know what to expect from him. He's just playing basketball. There's some guys that play with IQ. There's some guys that are knocking down shots. He does a little bit of everything. He's a gunner. At times he's really aggressive. He doesn't make the extra pass. He's doing all of these type of things, but he's also a playmaker. So you have to take the good with the bad with Barton. And also he, like you said, he did take on a lot of defensive assignments today, and that was with he had to be an offensive player with Michael Porter Jr. out of the game, and it put him in the starting lineup. But he also had to be the defender for the Nuggets. So of course you remember all of these negative plays in the game because he's the one that's having to take those assignments.
Right, I agree.
With so many guards against him. And also, while Barton does not look completely healthy, that was the healthiest we have seen Barton in a very, very long time. He's dunking the ball. He's getting to his spots and he's getting lift. He's grabbing rebounds. He's altering shots at the rim. Like, that was Barton being a better thing. But then you just remember so many negative plays because that comes with Barton.
Yeah, it does. He had that thunderous dunk though, dude. That was some that vintage Barton. That felt good. But I don't know. Barton was pretty good.
The great cut from Gary too at the end. I mean, when Gary made that cut, I mean, that was a big play. The game was not put away. Like, Denver definitely. It reminded me honestly of Game 1. This game tonight reminded me of Game 1 against Sacramento, the first game of the season, because Denver should have won that one too. Yep. And there were moments, especially when you go back and rewatch it, you're like, oh, they're up 4 with a minute. Yeah, they won this game, and they didn't. And there was a moment tonight where they were up, I think, only 5 points or something like that, and I'm like, they're just close enough to be able to blow this if they get dumb. And when Gary made that drive to the basket, not having anywhere to go, and it looked like he was so stuck in there. Barton saved him with a great cut, and it turned a horrible game-changing play into okay, now they're up 7 or whatever. So I thought Barton was good tonight. It sounds like you guys are a little less impressed. He did make 2 3-pointers, though, 2 of Denver's 8. Which was only second most, because the first most belongs to none other than JaMychal Green, who goes 3 of 3 from the 3-point line tonight. 17 points,
so
6 rebounds, 1 assist. He goes 5 of 8 from the floor. You guys that have watched the show for a long time know, with role players, and JaMychal Green's a role player. He's not a star. He's not like a fringe star. He's a role player. With role players, my number one trait, I want you to know what you're good at, know what you're not good at, and stick to those things. And I think JaMychal Green, so far, we're still getting to know his game. I mean, obviously we've seen him as an opponent, but never followed him, game by game. So far, he seems to be an elite one of those guys. Like, he's never out of bounds. He's always in the spot he's supposed to be in, never trying to do too much. So I'm really high on him, and I'm going to say it. I think that we undervalued not having him. When I say we, I mean me, and then I'm blaming you guys. But I think we maybe
we're like, Green was great. Green was awesome. You're like, it's Barton.
I'm saying the first 4 games of the season, Denver, we're talking about the bench, and it doesn't make sense. And oh my God, what's going on? But it turns out he might be as good as anybody off of the bench, or as valuable as anybody. So I was really impressed with him. What do you think, Dev? Do you think Denver with him? We need to throw it out.
It's great to have him in the lineup, and it's actually so shocking that he's only 30 years old, because he has a old feel to his game. He literally does all of the perfect things, all of the things that you need. He understands every single situation. He stars in his role. Really, he stars in his role. He's knocking down 3-pointers. He plays good defense. And you don't have to ask too much of him. You don't see him taking ill-advised shots. You don't see him not making the extra pass. Like, he's never out there being the person that you're staring at the most. You don't notice him unless it's a positive play. There's not like plays that you're like, well, why didn't he grab that rebounder? Why didn't he make that switch on defense? He's not the person that you're staring at, and that makes it great. It's always good to be the person that no one is just staring at the entire time, because now you have expectations. There's not many expectations for him. It's just go out there and do what you're supposed to do. Yeah, it was a great game for him today.
It's so nice to have him come in and bring some calm to that bench, and just, a lot of times with that bench unit, like people like PJ Dozier, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. Sometimes he just drives and gives the ball up. He's like, you don't know what's happening. It's like, as soon as the ball goes into Green's hands, you're like, okay, like this something good is going to happen. Or he just looks poised. He's obviously done this before. And he really is like he's a complete amalgamation of Jeremy Grant and Paul Millsap. Like, if you combine those two, and you get the good defensive presence that Paul Millsap brings. He's not quite as rangy as Grant is, but he does have those big long arms, but he can just knock down that 3, man. That is so that's obviously the most impressive part of his game, is like that 3 just will not go out. It just
I'm
drops.
Curious in the comment section too for this one. So this is a question to everybody watching live right now, but I'm going to go to you, Eric. Where does he rank on your automatic rank? Because we were talking about Millsap being as high as just about anybody, but where's JaMychal?
Oh man, I mean, I mean, we were making jokes earlier. Like somebody was like, "Oh, is he gonna be able to shoot 90?" You know, and where I was like, "From 3, yeah, no problem, absolutely." Like every time he shoots the ball, I feel like it's going in. He's got such nice form, and he's like so steady. He doesn't force anything. Just like Dev's saying, like he just plays right into the role. Like he allows the ball and the play to come to him, and he just does the right thing. And his 3 is just wet for that reason. Like he just doesn't shoot it if it's not there.
I think he's high on my three-pointer, three-point percentage type of thing, because when you think about how often he's playing, right now they don't have Michael Porter Jr. He took minutes away from Millsap today, or Hartenstein usually would get a couple of minutes. So he's not in there for super duper long. So he's going to be able to hit a shot or two. And then also he's with the second unit who gets you some open shots also. All he has to do is shoot 2 a game. He makes 1 or he doesn't make 1. He probably doesn't shoot many more of them. So I think that he's going to be high. And how open he is with the second unit, he's going to have open looks. He doesn't turn down open looks.
That Campazzo Green pick and pop, man, that's deadly, because Campazzo's really good when he can, like, you know, he just has great timing on that, like, backwards pass to the pop guy. I like the comment that you just had up there about Millsap is the dad and JaMychal Green's the uncle, because they do both. It's so true, man. Like, it's actually really fitting, because
we've decided that Paul Millsap is not actually Dev's dad, but is JaMychal Green actually your uncle? Do we know?
Yeah, do we know this?
No, we're the same age.
That's so true.
Not that age has to do with all of that stuff. But when you think of someone that's older than you and things of that nature. But yeah, I can see them two having a 2-man game of spades or a horseshoe. That's a barbecue. Those two are old souls.
Well, let's hit our first break here, guys. On the other side, we got to talk about Jamal Murray, because I thought this was a weird step down game from him. He'd been so consistent. This one a little bit quiet. But before we get there, guys, Breckenridge Brewery, it's the official beer of DNVR. Don't forget, supporting our partners is supporting us, and we are a Breckenridge Brewery company through and through. In fact, look at this.
Look at that.
Look at that. Built-in marketing right here. The new one. Tell me about it, Eric. The Juice Drop.
The hazy juice drop. I mean, it's a juicy, hazy, delicious beverage. You got to be like kind of a beer guy to know the difference between all of these specific types of beers. But you know, a hazy juice drop, it's like you've got a little bit of like actual fruit flavor that comes through on top of like an IPA kind of flavor, and so you get that bitterness from the hops, and then you get like the sweetness that comes through. Yeah. And so it's a beer, man.
I'm a fruit beer person. I'm a
you
big
are
fan.
A fruit beer, you
Shamelessly
are a fruit beer
so.
person.
Shamelessly so. But check out Breckenridge Brewery, and then of course you guys can always check out the Farmhouse, where they have great food and outdoor dining, socially distanced, of course, and then all of their great beers: Palisade Peach, Avalanche Amber, Colorado Core, Hot Peak, Strawberry Sky, Vanilla Porter Jr. The Vanilla Porter Jr. is coming back, I hear, on Thursday.
The VPJ, the Vanilla Porter Jr. has been kept away from the other beers long enough. You can bring it back.
It has indeed. That is exactly what happened. Also want to tell you guys about MSU Denver Online. Now is the time to apply for classes. Spring semester starts January 19th. Time and time again, one thing that protects you against economic downturn is an education, allowing you to adapt into varying careers. Go and build your toolbox at MSU. MSU Denver Online puts a dynamic education at your fingertips without forcing you to decide between earning a degree and living your life. And they've got great teachers there, great professors. Of course, we know one great professor, friend of the show, all-star first ballot Hall of Fame guest on the DNBA show, Dr. Travis Heath. He's a professor there, so you can go there and take a class from him. So whether you're interested,
the whole time,
the whole time, you get an A. You're like, hey, what do you know? But you guys know, with a college education, especially with an online, a university that allows you an online opportunity, you can work and go to school at the same time. You can go there if you just want to learn something. You've always wanted to learn a subject or whatever. Now you've got some extra time on your hands, because who can go anywhere? Maybe you want to take a course there, or maybe you want to switch careers, guys. Now's a great time to do that and sign up. Their semester begins here in just a couple weeks. All right, let's get back into it here. So Jamal Murray, let's start with him. 32 minutes tonight. Which is also a little bit strange, because you get 36 from Barton, 37 from Jokic, but you get 32 minutes from Jamal Murray tonight. 13 points, 3 assists, 1 rebound. That's a really quiet stat line, a really quiet one. Even more quiet, just 3 of 7 from the floor.
Yo, His night was so crazy. He came out on fire.
On fire.
It looked like it was going to be exactly like carbon copy of the last game with the Wolves, which in a lot of ways it was, where it was just like unnecessarily close until the end when Jokic was like, all right, enough of this garbage, and just put him to sleep. But Murray just like, he looked tired to me, man. Like he just looked. He came out, he had it, and then he just like didn't want it. He like, it wasn't even that he missed a few, and he was like, nah, whatever. Like you guys handle this. I'm just gonna float around. Like he wasn't doing anything really.
Float is a great way to put it. That's what I felt like he did after that first part, and he looked a little frustrated. I don't know with what exactly, but yeah, it was just a weird night because he's been so consistent. I was so. Everybody's entitled to a half bad game. I don't think it was a whole bad game, but a half bad game. What did you make of it, Superstar?
I think that he just kind of sleepwalked through the whole, after the first quarter. He came out, he was engaged, he was locked in, and then after that, he was just kind of like, they went up big, and he wasn't into it anymore. Usually this is a game like against D'Angelo Russell that he's usually into it. He's locked in, and he wants to go at them. Once they went up in the game, he just kind of was like, just do whatever you guys want to do. He really did. He didn't have a Murray game in any way. He didn't demand the ball. He didn't want to go back and forth. It was just kind of like, I'm just here. So like D-Line was saying, I think that he was just tired. He's just not into this one.
Yeah. Man, the comments, the comments are always so distracted. Goddamn hilarious. Brandon Brown says it. Say it, Eric. It was his legs. It was his legs. He had leg issues. Tired legs.
But we joke about it, but there's something to this. I mean, look, Jokic played 37 minutes tonight, Barton 36. Jokic has never played the minutes that he's been playing to open the season. Other than maybe the only time I could think of him playing this type of minute load was the last 6 or 7 or 8 games of the 2018 season. Remember, Denver needed to win all of them to make the playoffs, and so Jokic started playing like tons and tons and tons of minutes. That's the only time he's ever had a stretch like this in the regular season, and that it's come in the first 6 games. Is it 6 or 7? We're in 7 games now, right?
We are now 3 and 4, so this is the 7th game.
7th game. So now 7 games into the season, and he's putting up this kind of minute total. I am a little concerned, I would say. Even Jokic, I thought tonight looked a little sluggish, looked a little fatigued. So, something to kind of keep an eye on, and I'm sure Malone wants to keep an eye on it. But Jamal Murray tonight, not so great. Hopefully he gets a bounce back game in the next one. Where should we go after this? Where do you guys want to go?
Let's talk about the former Nuggets that came to the Ball Arena and decided that they were going to show us what we were all missing out on. Juancho Hernan-Gomez can't miss a goddamn 3-pointer. I feel like I haven't seen him make a 3-pointer for 2.5 years, and he couldn't miss. It was Juancho versus the Warriors. I know, right?
I picked Gary Harris to break out of the slump. It was Juancho, because Juancho's been in a slump too. Timberwolves fans, they had their pitchforks out for him, but he was on fire, and he was hitting the fun threes.
Yeah, dude, and he had of course he cooled off.
Yeah,
but he's had that second quarter where he just could not miss. He was driving the lane, he was doing everything, and then he turned back into Juancho.
When Juancho is on like that, it's just fun to watch too. It just seems like it's so much gravity towards him, and he just finds the open spot every time. And his shot is so beautiful; he gets it off so quickly. He got hot, and I was really nervous. I'm like, this is the perfect revenge game for a player like him. That's fun because the Nuggets respect him so much. When you look back at how they treat him, I'm sure that they liked Vanderbilt and I'm sure that they liked Malik Beasley, but it just seems a lot different with the respect factor and how much they loved Juancho. You could tell that they really miss him.
Dude.
So it was perfect to see him have a good game, but the Nuggets still win. Because you're still rooting for a guy like that.
No, I was going to say, as when he was going off, it wasn't like when D'Lo would hit a 3 and I'd be like, God damn it. Juancho hit it. Juancho hits it, I'm like, okay, all right, good.
Now. You're still rooting on the Nuggets, but you're also that's not that bad.
yeah, so true.
Shot, and you're who's leaving him open?
Yeah, so he looked really good for that first part. It made us all miss him. I
didn't really miss him though. I gotta be honest. I was
you didn't? I do.
I missed him because every image of him pre-game and
happy.
post-game. Well, it's just like him embracing Nikola
Yeah.
Jokic. They're just like locked in a bro hug. And every
That's what I miss.
Well, yeah, I know, but I don't miss him on the court. Like this is like such a rare Juancho occurrence. I mean,
I think
you
it's his second highest point total ever.
Yeah, I know.
Arguably his second best career game. So.
so crazy.
Of course, I think he belongs in Denver, though, guys. I mean, clearly his best games happen in Denver. Go ahead.
I said best things happens in Denver, and also it seems like Jokic is happier when Juancho's around.
Yeah,
it seems like Murray's happier. Gary Harris really loved him. Like he deserves to be here. Then you have players like Jared Vanderbilt, and it seemed like he was getting into it with the Nuggets guys. Like him and Jokic really had going against each other. Where they're pushing each other around. Jokic takes a very, very hard foul on him. But Vanderbilt's one of those players that'll frustrate you because he has so much energy. He's everywhere on the floor. He's diving after loose balls. He's elbowing. He's doing every single thing that you don't want when you're going against him, but you love him for when he's on your team. And right now he's not with the Nuggets. So it's like you remember all the things that you didn't like about him now that he's on a different team.
Yeah.
He was involved tonight.
Yeah, Vando was hilarious tonight too, because you're right. Like he was like, and one, and all right, dude. Like, come on, like chill out. That was like a terrible little layup. But he was hustling. I mean, all those ex-Nuggets were. I mean, it really, honestly, just felt like we were watching like an intramural Nuggets scrimmage. It was like every player was like either a current or former Nugget. It was very strange.
Look who's here, guys. The man with the wind in his hair, the arena at his back.
And the mask on his face.
The mask on his face. Harrison, what's happening, brother?
What's up, guys? Man, good to be with you. Good to be with you.
Well, it's good to have you on. We're talking about the Vandalorian. I see. I like that's great. That's a great nickname. The
I know.
Vandalorian.
We can't use it.
We'll have to just.
Oh my god, dude! Can you imagine if we had the Vandalorian and Faku, which is like Grogu? I don't even want to think about this. I'm upset.
But Vando, to me, you were talking about he was frustrating Jokic. I don't think there's anything personal there. Like Vando wasn't challenging Jokic for the crown in Denver. Like that, there's nothing there. But what it was is, and I know this is I'm coming from a very personal place here, guys. There's no player I like playing against least than the string bean big guy who gets away with everything. This is what it was. This is what Jokic hated is Vanderbilt plays recklessly. There was one replay they showed. And it actually wasn't. It was JaMychal Green got the foul, where Vando's just like basically like leaning on him and hugging him and this or that. And finally, JaMychal Green throws him off like this and gets the foul call. And it's like, yeah, it's a foul on the skinny guy. It's just he doesn't knock him over because he weighs 30 pounds. That's the only reason.
I think I weigh more than Vando, to be honest.
Dude, he's so skinny. But
I know I may weigh more than Vando. That's unfortunate. Because I'm a good like 2 feet shorter than he is.
I wasn't gonna say it. I'm glad you did.
The worst is Bol. Like when you see his weight, it's like 215 or something. You're like, holy crap, we all weigh more than Bol. Anyway, Vando, he played really well tonight. I'm curious to see if he breaks into their rotation at all. I know that Wolves fans have enjoyed his energy and his effort. Mm-hmm. I do. He is pretty unskilled though, and seeing him at the foul line tonight was like every time he got fouled, I was like, oh, thank God. That's automatic 0 points. That's what it felt like. Harrison, what are your big takeaways from the game?
I mean, it felt like the last win against Minnesota, a win that you don't feel great about, but I thought Michael Malone kind of summed it up kind of well after the game. He was like, wins are hard to come by for us right now. Bottom line, we're trying to figure this thing out as we go. And I mean, this Nuggets team is not playing great, but they just need to get some wins anywhere they can right now, and that's what they did. A big takeaway I did have from tonight, though, like the fourth quarter defense was pretty good. And I think it's kind of been a theme with this team in the regular season for sure. When they want to defend, they can. And that's kind of just what happened in the fourth.
I'm going to push back just a little bit on that and say when they want to defend, they can for like 8 minutes. I think they have 8 minutes of turbo, and they just save it. Maybe less. Maybe it's 6 minutes of turbo, and they're like, all right, it's time. Which is
and they defended in the first quarter. I thought they defended pretty well in the first quarter. Like you can obviously envision Michael Malone pregame in the locker room being like, all right, let's have a great defensive first quarter. They go out and do that. let go of the rope in the second, the third quarter, etc., and then pick it up again in the fourth.
Minnesota gets 22 points in the first quarter, 20 in the fourth quarter. So to your point, those are really good numbers. Then 43 in the second, and 31 in the third. That's pretty rough. Should we hit? Actually, no. Let's just go to Michael Malone real quick. Then we'll hit a break before we get to everybody else. What else did Malone? So he's talking about the team adjusting and learning each other on the fly. What I feel like he's saying in there, Harrison, is he's learning which guys he can trust and which combos, because I think he solved JaMychal Green. That's a player. He's in the rotation. Campazzo.
Totally.
I think Malone has figured out what works and what does not work with Campazzo, and 2 games of him playing well in a row now, I think there's something to. I think there's something about, okay, Malone now knows where he belongs in this rotation, and I feel a lot more confident with him. Do you think it's other stuff, or do you think it's still like him? That's what he's talking about, where to play guys and how many minutes and this or that.
Yeah, I think that's the track he's on there. With Campazzo, it's interesting, though, because he was asked post-game what's kind of clicked for him over these last couple of games, and Malone didn't really talk about the lineups or like the comfortability. He said opportunity. He said opportunity with Michael Porter Jr. out of the lineup. So I thought that was interesting. He said the biggest thing that's allowed him to get in a rhythm is opportunity. He pointed out Facu's defense on D'Angelo Russell tonight. He thought for the large part that was pretty good defense that he played.
I would agree. Campazzo, the effectiveness of his defense seems to be a little bit up and down, although the last 2 games it's been mostly up. It's been mostly up. So to that point, and that's one of the things they're looking for. What about? I mean, he obviously hasn't mentioned this, but I'm just kind of throw it out to the group. Hartenstein's out. He's out on the rotation 2 games in a row now. Maybe this was just a Minnesota thing, but
I think it is. I absolutely think it's what it is. It's like, I mean, it's 2 games in a row, but it's 2 games in a row against the same opponent that doesn't have a traditional center in their backup unit. So there's no point in throwing a big guy in there. It was just matchup stuff like that. That's the thing. Like, Malone's going to have so many weird, or just the ability to match up players against specific teams. Like Facu, a lot of times feels like he's like a matchup kind of player. Like, you can't put him in against Chris Paul, as we learned, but you can put him in against like DN or D'Lo and like not as players that aren't as fast at that level. And then Hartenstein, I feel like Hartenstein's absolutely going to be part of the rotation in the next game, like for sure.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a Minnesota thing, but the thing about it is a lot of teams play small like Minnesota does. So I think there could be a lot of these games where he's just out of the rotation. And actually about 15 minutes before I hopped on this call, I watched Isaiah Hartenstein go through a shooting session out on center court at Ball Arena. And not the most tantalizing stuff also.
You know what's tantalized?
What's funny about that is usually when guys go out and work out, everybody's like, man, I just watched Mason Plumlee trade 5 threes in a row. Like, because all these guys can make shots in an empty gym, but Harrison, unimpressed with Isaiah Hartenstein.
I feel really bad for that rim. I would say.
All right, let's take another break. I want to hear more of what was said in the post game, but first, let's hit our last commercial break and tell you about Strava Craft Coffee. Do you have these up, Harrison? Are you all ready?
You know, it's Adam. It seems like you got these up. It seems like you're ready to go. I'm just gonna let you vibe. I'm gonna let you go with it.
Let's 2-man game this one here. So Strava
Pick and
Craft
pop it,
Coffee.
baby.
Have you not heard about it? It's the Colorado local CBD infused coffee made right here. It can be shipped straight to your door. In fact, if you order now with a subscription, you get 20% off your order every single time. You just make the order how much you want to drink. It'll come straight to your door. You never have to go shopping for coffee. You just always get the number one best stuff. And then, of course, you guys know me. What am I all about? Denver,
honking like
city
a
of
goose.
Denver.
Oh,
honking like a goose. I am, I do like to honk like a goose from time to time. But I'm all about local. Strava Craft Coffee is local, so rep the state of Colorado with a little bit of pride. And then, of course, if you are just wanting to try it out in a one-off sample, then you can go ahead and use the promo code DNVR20, and you get 20% off of that. CBD infused, it helps with backaches, migraines, joint pain, all that kind of good stuff. Then we have DraftKings Sportsbook. I went 1 for 2 tonight. My stupid bet on Gary Harris. What a terrible bet. The worst bet of all time. I feel so embarrassed even admitting this, but DraftKings Sportsbook, it's the top-rated sportsbook app right now. And if you haven't checked out the app, there's no better time to sign up to celebrate the most exciting time of the football season. For some states, maybe not necessarily for Denver. Denver, not that exciting of a time.
It's actually the most exciting time of the Denver season, which is just the playoffs with other teams playing.
That's true. We don't feel guilty like watching the other teams and having an interest here. But DraftKings is giving you a chance to double your money. All it takes is for one touchdown. Have you guys already done this? If not, go and do it right now, because this is DraftKings every now and then is like, hey, do you guys want $25 free? If there's one touchdown on Sunday or on Saturday, any of the Saturday football games, you get to double your money on that $25 bet. So, check it out. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code DNVR. That way you can qualify for that. Limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Let's go back into the locker room here. Do you actually leave your seat for the Zoom, or is it just, are you right there for your Zoom?
No, it's actually really funny what happens here. So I've talked about how the music during games is just like turned up to the max volume, definitely way above where it was when there were fans here. It shuts off literally right as Michael Malone starts his post-game presser. So it's just a row of us media at our same seats where we watch the game, just on Zoom for the pressers.
Yeah, so ridiculous.
I don't leave my seat. Yeah.
You just sit there the entire time. Wynn secretly hates going to the game because you don't really get like, all you get is tiny little details. Like you could see the huddles a little bit more. You could do this or that. Mainly, you just get a worse view of the game.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Not too bad. All right, so who else spoke tonight?
So I want to talk about Will Barton for a second, because I think he had a sneaky good game tonight. I don't know if you guys, they don't get that much.
I said as much. These two clowns.
The problem is you gave him as the second best player in the game.
It's not what I said. I said he was the prince of the game.
Yeah, that's the second best player.
Second in line.
He was the second born son. He was.
Yeah, but that was JaMychal Green. That was the issue. Is your ordering? That was the issue.
We weren't against Barton.
Well, sounds like you were. All right, thank you, Harrison.
Wait a minute. Just because Harrison said it doesn't mean it. Whatever. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So here's what I that jumped out to me about Barton's game. He missed a couple layups, and I think finishing around the rim has been a struggle of his early on this season. But 19 points, 7 of 14 from the field, hit a couple threes, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. And I thought his defense, guys, I thought his defense on Malik Beasley from the opening tip, this was like really obvious. Malik killed them a couple nights ago. It felt like to me that Barton really came out and just wanted to establish himself and just make Malik Beasley feel him from the opening tip. So I thought his defense was good. And then Michael Malone on Will Barton says for him to finally get a chance to throw down a dunk with authority, he's starting to get his legs back, getting his pop back.
Yeah, well, TBD on that, although he did have a couple of those dunks. But to your point about Beasley, I don't think there's any chippiness between them or anything like that. I'm not trying to start a rumor or this or that, but you would think so based on how much he screamed in his face. What was it? Was it a steal and a dunk that he got? Was that the play that he gets in his face and just kind of
it
flexes
was
on
in
it?
the first quarter.
Yeah. What happened on that play? Walk us through that play. I mean, I can't remember which one it was. Nobody remembers?
Well, I thought, did Barton pick Beasley's pocket and then Barton got a dunk and then Beasley was just kind of hanging around, and it seemed like there was some jawing for sure.
Yeah. It felt like there's friendly trash talk amongst ex-teammates. That one felt a little bit like, no, man, not tonight.
Yeah, like Juancho at a certain point raked Jokic's face, and then Jokic ended up patting him on the back of the head.
Right.
It's fine. It's okay. But yeah, that wasn't quite the same vibe with the Barton Beasley dunk.
Yeah. So Barton also had just some all-time quotes. This was a great Will Barton session, a real throwback to simpler times in the Nuggets locker room after games. Will Barton on Nikola Jokic, quote, "I tell him before every game, go out there and win MVP. He can be the best player in the world if he wants to. He can't be stopped."
What the H, man? You think Barton will take the place and be my dad for a while and just pump me up before I go do stuff?
I need one of you guys to step
That's
up.
what I'm saying. Like,
every time I go on the show, I'm like, Adam, you can win an Emmy, man. Like, go for it. Don't be afraid.
You're gonna do a great show. You're gonna make great points. Everyone's gonna realize how much you love Jokic. Right?
Man, that's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, we see that stuff. I think that's one of the things is we see, a little bit closer behind the scenes on that stuff. And Barton and Monte's the other guy, Mr. Nugget, who I think is just always like, he's first team all encouraging friend. He's the guy that's like, have you seen, what was that movie, The Kite Runner? You guys remember that one? He had the one friend that was always like hyping up the other one, even though the other one was really bad to him. That's kind of like how Monte is. He's always like, he's the little friend that's like, "Hey, no, you're the man. I'm just here to help you out." And I love that stuff. All right, so what else in the post game today?
Will Barton on playing with Facundo Campazzo. Quote, he has a great feel for the game and he's a pro. He's just a joy to play with. He has a lot of fun out there and I love playing with him.
Listen to these guys. These guys are couldn't be happy.
Nothing like a win over the Minnesota Timberwolves back to back.
We're all like pretty miserable, but they're feeling good. So maybe we should change our tune a little bit.
Cousin Barton, I like this one. I like that. Is it nephew Facu then? Is Campazzo the nephew? Yeah, so is there anything else from the postgame? So Barton, Jokic, Malone?
Let me talk about Jokic. He had some good ones too. He was asked about Juancho, and then some
here comes the love.
Some discrepancy postgame. I think it was somebody from the Nuggets telling Jokic that Juancho got his career high tonight, and Juancho had 25, and then Jokic butts in and says, "Oh no, I'm sure he had 30. I'm sure he had 30 with us." And then yours truly comes in and saves the day. I'm up asking the next question. Of course, I have to inform Nikola that his career high was 27.
It was 27.
Wow.
The Juancho game, of course. Like this is,
of course. Come on.
Wait, you saved the day by telling Jokic he was wrong.
Why would you do that, Harrison?
Yeah, why would you? Why can't you be more like Barton and just let him be the MVP of the post game there?
I'm all about the truth. You guys know that. All about the truth.
I kind of want to go back and watch it and see if they missed a three because I kind of trust Jokic in this one, to be honest with you.
I know. I would not be surprised if he actually had 30 and they missed it or
they just missed a
like
three.
That.
They gave Mike Miller one of his.
So Jokic was asked about, Will telling him before every game that he should go out there and win MVP, if he thinks about MVP at all. And Jokic pretty much just said, "No, I don't. I just think about the next game." Quote, "When you think about things in the future, it puts a lot of pressure on yourself." So next game mentality.
Do we believe that?
No.
I was gonna say, man, I don't know. I mean, look, I do think Jokic is a pretty present player. Like, I think there are some players that you could tell are always thinking about legacy or this. That. I think Jokic mostly lives in the present, but I think he knows where the stats are. I think he knows when he has 8 assists. I think he knows when he's got 9 rebounds or this or that. And he's this close.
So you're saying your assertion here is that he knew specifically that I needed him to get 9 assists and he was hung up on 6 and was fine with it.
Oh, dang it! You're right. I needed that too. I went 0 for 2 tonight, not 1 and 1. I went 0 for 2. Dang it! What
Freaking
a tough
Joker,
night.
dude. Freaking Joker, dude.
Jokic and Gary. Oh, what a letdown. Was there anything else from Jokic tonight? Was he pretty chipper tonight?
He was pretty chipper. He was pretty chipper indeed. Spoke glowingly of JaMychal Green.
Yes, the prince of the game. Some are saying.
Many are saying.
Some are talking about him as the prince of the game. Quote, "You always love a guy like JaMychal because he's going to give you everything. He's going to give you heart. Whatever he's doing, he's always going to do 100%. He's going to set amazing screens. If you want him to run, he's going to run as fast as he can."
Man, that's a big endorsement. And you know what's funny is JaMychal Green's a Jokic guy because I think Jokic just like it's funny because as much as Jokic is the engine, he still likes to make the right play, and even sometimes that's him taking himself out, sometimes maddeningly so. And I think he likes other players that are that way, and JaMychal, I really do think he's that way. Like Jokic is never doing this thing to, Jokic's other nervous tick when he's upset, have you guys noticed? It's to touch the nose. Have you guys noticed this? Like, you know this one?
I feel like that's because he's gotten recently hit in the nose, which happens every single. Like his nose gets redder and redder.
No, that's Torrey Craig that does that, Eric.
If you watch this next game, if Michael Porter takes a shot that's maybe not the greatest shot, Jokic does this one. It's like all right, okay. So we'll find out. Well, let's turn our attention to this next game then, because 3 and 4. almost back. Denver can climb their way out of this hole and get to 500. Look, you know who's the worst team, the laughingstock of the NBA after 2 games? The Golden State Warriors. They're all of a sudden back. Now everybody's talking about how great they are. And is Steph Curry the greatest player in the NBA? I don't know. Like, we've really switched the narrative on that. There's a lot of teams. The Atlanta Hawks were the best team in the NBA. Now they're here. Same goes for the Brooklyn Nets. This young season, I think. This young team or this young season is telling us that narratives are flipping a lot, and I do think that we all live in the silo of we're focused in on the Nuggets and only the Nuggets, and the Nuggets are still 3-4. They're not 4-3. They're still 3-4. But I do feel like there's a psychological thing. Maybe it's just for me that if they can get to 4-4, it feels like the season starts over. Like, okay, now we get to throw everything else out, and let's just start from this point. What do you think, Dev? I mean, how big do you feel like this next game is for Denver?
I think it's a big game, and a good part of that game, and what you just talked about was the fact that since we cover the Nuggets and since we're a Nuggets show, we're so fixated on the Nuggets, but you don't look at the other teams. The Mavericks are having a season that's kind of just like the Nuggets. They're losing to some teams that they're not supposed to be losing to. They have a couple of wins, and maybe they're trying to catch their stride, but that's also a team that's still trying to find themselves. So say that you beat the Mavericks, which we know is a playoff team, which is a team that has a superstar in the league. Now you start to get a rhythm. Now you get to find a zone. You went from streaking to now all your clothes are off and you're running full speed down the street and things of that nature.
All right.
You're back.
That sentence went in a weird place. I got to be honest. I didn't expect that.
You feel like you're in a good place if you get a win against a team that's also trying to find themselves at the exact same time that you're trying to find themselves, and they're also a Western Conference team that was in the playoffs last year. So a win now with three straight games, you start to forget about the Sacramento Kings type of games, and now you start to build on the season itself. You go to a winning record, or at least closer to the winning record, and now you're a team that you're looking like yourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and MPJ, I see a lot of questions in the comments. People asking, do we know when MPJ is coming back? It's next game, right? I
believe he should be back next game.
Yeah, and that's a whole new wrinkle, to be honest with you, because Denver has built a little bit of momentum. Granted, it's against a really horrible. I mean, this Timberwolves team, guys, if they would have lost either of these games, it would have been like the alarm bells would have gone off, because if they would have lost either of these games, man. They needed these ones. And it would have been nice to have Michael Porter in these ones, because I think this would have been a nice exhibition for him to sort of get in the flow. But, that's that. As long as Michael Porter is in the lineup, he's going to be a major story, and all eyes are going to be kind of on him. The one thing I'll say is there was a lot of talk about his defense and it anchoring the team down. The team got stops when they needed over the last 2 games. Their defense hadn't looked great quarters 2 and 3, especially in quarters 2. So, he's coming in. He's got to help solve a problem that nobody in that team has solved just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for MPJ to come back. The thing about the Nuggets season so far, I mean, we were laughing earlier, like talking about, like where is your panic level, like 3 games ago, and we're like, dude, if people are like really panicking this much, like you just have to understand, like this is the way a NBA season goes. It's just like nonstop ebbs and flows, and people are, teams, it makes sense and it doesn't make sense. The dynamics change all the time, and the one troubling thing for me about the Nuggets season so far is that we just have not really seen a full game be put together, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're changing the lineup all the time. MPJ has been out, and so I still don't quite know what the bench unit looks like. Like I don't know who the go-to bench lineup is. Like I know who it is against the Wolves because we saw it 2 times in a row. Like I don't know if Malone is planning to stagger the starting lineup into the bench the same way he's been doing these last couple games. If Porter's involved, like if is Hartenstein involved, like there's just so many questions. And like I mean that's why you play the regular season. Frankly, it's like to sort of like figure out who this team is. The Nuggets have not played even close to a complete game yet, but they're really close to being 4-4. Coming back to 500. And I agree with you, Adam. Like, start new season. Like if we can get
Totally.
4-4, it's like
Totally.
we start over. Like we can just forget about those 2 ridiculous losses to the Kings and just
The Kings, who,
move
by the
forward.
way, might not be good. Like we thought maybe they're the surprise team this year.
They're
Like,
not.
no.
They're definitely not good.
They're a bad team. Those were bad losses. If you want to look at the silver linings here, Denver is now tied for 8, 9, 10, right? They're tied 8, 9, 10 with Dallas, by the way, and Sacramento. But if you look at the point differential, and this is usually the best indication, there's only 6 teams in the West that have a positive point differential right now. Denver's one of them. The Lakers, the Suns, okay, those are clearly the 2 best teams out of the gate right now. They both have been dominating. Dallas, New Orleans, the Clippers, and Denver all right there, kind of bunched up between 1 and 2.5. And then if you want to talk about winning streaks, guys, Denver now has the second longest winning streak
Let's
in the Western
go.
Conference.
Let's freaking go, dude.
Thank God for the Timberwolves. Thank freaking God. Thank God. Another thing about Wednesday, it's on national TV.
Oh my
And
God, that's
I
terrible.
think it could be kind of like a narrative-setting game for Denver. The Nuggets play really well. The narrative is going to be, these guys started off really poorly. They had a lot of new pieces. They're getting everybody integrated, but they're hitting their stride. If Denver doesn't play well, the narrative is going to be like, the Nuggets
So
are
true.
trash.
So true, man. There's going to be a lot of narrative written on this. And by the way, I don't know Jokic's updated numbers, but they're going to be pretty impressive, his per games. I mean, he's still averaging a triple-double, even though he only got the 6 assists tonight. Averaging a triple-double, and that 15 rebounds is going to boost that up. 35 points going to boost his points up, and his assists only sag a little. So going into that game, to your point, Harrison, we've been waiting. Magic Johnson the other day really pissed me off when he said Steph Curry is in the running for MVP along with, and he listed like 16 guys, and none of them were Jokic. So, but this national television game on Orthodox Christmas is an opportunity for him to steal some of the narrative and be like, a lot of people, if Denver can get a win, a lot of people are going to look and go, I didn't realize Jokic was averaging 26 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, and shooting 70%.
Yeah. I told you guys this in the Slack. This Orthodox Christmas can be the December 15th moment of this season. Michael Porter coming back. This is looking like it's going to be the first time when Denver's going to have its projected opening night rotation available.
That's true.
This could be it.
I like that. So who plays? I mean, obviously, I think we have to assume if Michael Porter is playing that I think he'll be back in the starting lineup. I don't think Denver's going to try to mess with that. Do you think, Dev?
I would say no, but they're streaking right now without him, so it would be hard to not implement them into that. So I think that they're going to stick with the lineup that they have going right now.
Oh my!
Yeah, Dev, when you say it, we just have to be clear. When you say streaking, you mean like putting games together, or do you mean taking clothes off? Because you've said it in both ways.
You have interchanged the way you use that.
But I think that if you leave it with so much like mystique, people have to guess. So I can't tell you guys because now everybody has to guess.
That's really good.
People are going to think that I'm talking about no clothes.
I am actually guessing you're talking about no clothes.
Which side do you want?
Dallas can't defend. Neither can Denver. I mean, I think I'm comfortable saying it. Denver's defense. And by the way, if you haven't listened to the Keeping It 1000 podcast, guys, it's not on the DNVR Nuggets feed. It's a
good app.
It's really interesting. He had a lot of like interesting details in there.
Every time I listen to you and George Carl talk, like he'll say something, I'll be like, yeah, you know what? That's actually dead right. That's like exactly right. Like what did he say about? I'll have to think about it. But I like when I listen to it, I just love
the Nuggets front office the L word. I remember that.
What did he call him?
The L word. Lazy.
What's the L word? Oh, lazy. Oh, yeah. Oh, he was a little. He came in hot on the Nuggets front office for sure. He came in hot on me though for a while there too. He's throwing arrows at everybody. But hey, that's why we call it Keeping It 1000. He doesn't hold back. He keeps everything real. So if you haven't listened to that, it's me and George Carl. We're going to do one every 2 weeks throughout the entire season. It's always great, whether you agree with him or not. It's great to get the perspective of an NBA coach because they just see things so differently than we do. So it's always nice to listen to. But
he's my grandpa.
He's your grandpa. I can see it. I see the resemblance.
This one is for sure, but
But just Denver defensively, man. One of the things he said in there was that his prediction is Denver's not going to be good defensively all season. He said if they are, it's not going to be till the end of the year, meaning it's going to take an entire season for this group of guys to figure out how to play defense at a high level. And after watching it tonight, I'm with you, Harrison. They do have guys that have been through this that can play defense in short order, but I don't know if they have 48 minutes of defense in them just yet, and I do think that's going to be a thing that takes – I don't think it's coming on Thursday. I think it's going to be a thing that takes a while.
Yeah, I'd agree. And, I mean, you insert Michael Porter Jr. into this thing, and that's another obstacle you've got to overcome on the defensive end of the floor, too.
Sorry, lesbian duck. You can go to bed.
Do you have the outro music? Yeah, D-Line, do you have the outro music? We're getting kicked off the stage and we're getting booed off. Yeah, this is like at the Oscars.
Lesbian duck said it was time to go, so.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Denver does get the win. This team's still a work in progress, but I am excited for this upcoming game because, to your point, if Michael Porter's back, they get everybody back, and I'm curious to see who plays, who doesn't, and also just how those pieces fit. Gives them more weapons, gives Malone a little bit more of a difficult task, but it's Serbian Christmas, guys. It's Orthodox Christmas. We're having a Jokic game. I can feel it.
Just two more. We're streaking. Oh, all right. Just let me.
Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it would be pretty funny if Denver does go on like an 8, 9, 10 game streak right now, and we panicked out through this whole thing. And
we didn't panic, but we had to.
I'm not saying panic. I'm just saying we talked about this team and how terrible they look.
Well, they were terrible. They've been terrible. They're currently terrible, but they have this in them. Like. That we've seen them do it. We just need to see them put it all together. You know what we saw tonight? We saw Facundo Campazzo play a meaningful point guard role to play, like, running the ball, doing what you need Facu to do, which is not to be a three-point specialist or to be just playing off-ball at 2. So that was encouraging. I was happy to see that. We also saw a little two-man game from Jamal and Jokic. So we have good indications of things to come.
Murray had a down game. Maybe he has an up game this next one. I hope so. So thanks, everybody. Don't forget, before you get out of here, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already.
Oh, yeah, we got two down votes, too. Yeah, welcome to the haters. We love you, y'all haters. We love you.
Tomorrow, on Thursday night, hopefully back in the Winners Lounge. We'll see you guys all then. Adios.
You son of a bitch.
There it is.